So back in 2024, I wrote a Amazon bestseller. It was a book about how to moderate caffeine, and basically I just explained the truth behind it, and based on my own experiences, based on my own research. If you want to check that out, link in the description. Shameless plug. And in writing that, I learned a lot. This isn't like the self-help guru bullshit. This is actually just pure facts and exactly what I did in a simple way that got my book to the bestseller list. So, everything I did. Number one, I gave myself permission to just do things because I feel like everyone thinks if you you can't write a book unless you're like professional. I don't know why I'm doing this with my fingers, but you can't write a book unless you're like some professional, like unless you have a PhD, unless you have a degree. I disagree. I think if you have a degree, a lot of the times, like I think like half the degrees are nonsense. Like you just learn whatever bullshit the textbook tells you, and you don't learn to actually think for yourself. So I'd argue you actually like you don't need a degree at all. Like it's not the end all be all of education. Education goes beyond university, it goes beyond high school. It goes into just things you learn, things you experiment with yourself, things that work for you, things that didn't. And I think everybody has certain skills and things they're good at and things they know things about that they can actually write on. So for me, that was caffeine because I wasn't really super interested in caffeine anymore, but a lot of people like some of the stuff online I had to say about it and were like, yeah, you should do something with this. I'm like, all right, let me write a book on it and then move on. So when I wrote that book, I thought about, I like writing to like, not my younger self, but like some, basically kind of my younger self. Like, what's the book that I needed? If I could look back 3 years, what's the book that I really would have wanted to read? And then I created that. And that way I'm writing for a certain person, for a consumer, and I thought that was really useful. Second, I found one of the most useful things that I could do for writing a book was to make it short. This wasn't to be lazy. This was the thing I hate when I read books is this is just all my personal opinions. You can depends on the type of book you're doing. Might want to make it longer. But I found I don't like reading books that are super long. If you have a book that's like 300 pages, like realistically, if you use your little brain, you probably could have wrote that down to like 100 pages and still conveyed the information good. And if you have a book that's 250 pages, time you get to the end, you have no idea what the beginning was about. In my opinion, you need to reread it like 3 times, and it takes forever, and then people lose interest. No one finishes it. So I wrote the book with the mindset that it's a busy professional. It's my past self. It's whoever who doesn't have a giant attention span. My writing's not that good, and I want them to be able to sit down, read the book, no bullshit, completely factual. I don't want to spin the wheels. I don't want to talk it in circles. I want to literally just give them the pure, bare bones information in a fun, enjoyable way. That way they can sit down for an hour, read the entire book, and then move on with their lives and have all the information they need. They can stop searching for the truth because now they have it. That was my goal. And I think if you're writing, and this more applies to nonfiction books. I don't really have a lot of experience with fiction, but I think that's a good philosophy to write it, say more with less. I think that's a sign of a good writer. I'm not a professional at it, but that's what I tried to do when I wrote my book. Next, I used stories and imagery. And I actually was a little more open. It was almost like my book was almost like a mix of like an information book with some like philosophy and things I thought about the world, combined with like stories and anecdotes from my own life. And I think this makes it a lot more personal and interesting personally. Like reading has a lot of personalities in that sentence. I think it makes it a lot better because when you just get all like I'm writing a second book now, and that's something I had to fix actually. That's why I look back at my original book for inspiration because I wrote a lot more information based this time. I didn't really like it as much. It's good, but I find the anecdote like people love stories. You're not going to remember a book because of all the crazy information. You're going to remember it because of the way it made you feel and the way you saw the person writing it transform and then how that looks back and transforms you. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's what I found. People love stories. They love stories, not when you're winning. No one wants to hear about your vacations. No one wants to hear about all the crazy fun things you did. People want to hear about moments where you were down bad and you learned something or you had a revelation or you did something different outside the box or it's just funny and you failed and you put that in. and in a way that relates to what you're talking about. So I wrote about caffeine, and I was telling stories about how I was like going to my work terms for school, and I was just really burnt out. I was drinking a pile of coffee, and I wasn't really doing too hot. And I kind of illuminated that's what a lot of people feel in like 9 to 5s. That's what I feel. Like that was my opinion, anyways, which I think is true. If you look around, like go to Tim Hortons at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you'll see that everybody is not doing too hot, in need of their fix, the way I put it. And I think that made it better. It was a way that I could tell the information and relate to the reader and give some of my own personal stuff while also making it interesting and making it a lot more digestible. Because if it's an information dump, people are going to lose interest. Their brains are going to get overwhelmed and they're going to want to leave. So that's what I found was helpful. The next thing I did, let me think. Beyond the stories, the next thing I did was I addressed people's doubts and questions, and then I destroyed them. So I thought if I was going to argue against, because everyone has a different opinion, that's completely fair. Everyone's writing from their own experiences. No one knows everything. But I was like, there's questions that if I was reading this, I'd be like, well, what about this? What about that? And I took that argument and then I addressed it and then broke it down why I think differently, for example. And I found that was good as well. These are all just things I did going along, but I addressed all like the bullshit criticism I would have got, and I just addressed that up front, and I gave my opinion. Next, controversy sells. The biggest thing with a book is if you write the best book in the world, but nobody reads it, it doesn't, like, it's good for you to write it, but like it doesn't really, you're not going to do anything with it. Like, people need to click on it, people need to read it. And for me, I put it on Amazon, and I knew if I had a really if I had the best book in the world, but I had a really awful cover and a really awful title, no one was going to buy it, so it wouldn't have sold. And I'm not saying it sold a lot of money either. I'm going to get to that in a second, but controversy sells. My book is about moderation and balance and just healthy living, and I'm not a one size fits all approach, and my like opinion on like caffeine isn't like black and white. It's somewhere it's gray. Life is gray. It's not black and white. So I wrote my book like that. But the cover looks, if you were to look at the cover and be like, what do you think this guy thinks about caffeine? It would probably be, oh, he definitely hates it. He's definitely anti-caffeine. Because the cover is a little controversial. It's like a skull on the front with a coffee cup. Go look at it if you want. And the title is like The Caffeine Epidemic. And then like the subtitle is, you can look at it if you want. And the reason I did that was because I knew it would sell more than, it's like the guy, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He wrote a book. And people told him not to use that title. It's a little weird. And it's like, use something like The Principles of Economics. But like, The Principles of Economics doesn't catch your eye. The same way the book by Mark Manson, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, that catches your attention. If you see it on a bookshelf, you're going to look at that instantly because of the swear word. Like, the controversy catches attention, and then it's up to you to deliver a product that provides value, so then the person is going to want to tell 8 friends about it. I don't know why 8. That's the first number popped in my head, but I'm watching too much Stranger Things. Anyways, beyond that, I think the next thing that got it to a bestseller was the fact that it was a very niche topic. If I wrote about something like I'm writing a finance book now. Well, it's a mix of like finance, Bitcoin, the way the worlds and the systems work and how everything's changed. The world, not the worlds. It's an interesting book. Energy, a lot of stuff. That one's going to be a lot harder to get to a bestseller, for example, because there's a lot more people writing about that than writing about caffeine and like moderating caffeine. That's like a really niche topic. So I'm not saying your goal should be to get to the bestseller, but that's the title of this video. And if you want to do very well in an area, it's easier to write on a niche topic, in my opinion, than a topic that there's like a million. Like, there's a million economics books and business books, but there's not a million books on caffeine, so there's less competition. And that's what I did. I found a market where I kind of fell into it, but I had enough information to write a book, and I felt like it was a book sitting inside me. I need to tell somebody about it. It was good information. It was very valuable, in my opinion. And it's on a topic that not many people, there wasn't really a lot of good books on it. There's a couple people on YouTube that I mentioned in my book who were making some good videos, and there were a couple books. I read Alan Carr's book. I think that was pretty good. I also took some stuff from Tony Robinson. I can't remember his name, but I took some stuff from him as well, and I thought he had some good mindset shifts, but overall, there was nothing like the book that I wanted didn't exist, and there wasn't a lot of people writing on it. So for me, that was a good way to. It was a good market for me to enter and give my 2 cents. But if you're writing on a more popular topic, there's a lot more competition. You might not get to a bestseller. Now, here's the big thing I did also. Not only writing on a niche topic, I'm not saying you can't write on a big topic. Absolutely, go ahead. Write on whenever you feel that you have a book inside you that you want to tell somebody. You know, like that feeling when you talk to your friends about this really thing that you find super exciting, and you have all these, like, you just get really fired up and, like, a little autistic with it. That topic, the thing that makes you very happy and excited, that's the thing that I would write on if I were you. If you know enough about it and you have enough value you can provide. Because the whole reason of a book is to let somebody walk away from it changed or with a new perspective or with more information and more value. You want to provide value. That's the whole purpose of reading a book. Whether it's entertainment, whether it's knowledge, your goal is to provide value in everything you do. And then you will get rewarded for it. Lastly, the marketing strategy. So once you have a good cover, you have a good title, it could be a little controversial, just something that stands out. That's the big thing. It doesn't have to be controversial, it doesn't have to be like rude or anything. It's more like you need to have an opinion and be okay with that. The book doesn't have to be super controversial, but like right honestly and authentically. But and that's something else I did. I wrote really conversationally in the book. Like I wrote as if I was talking to a friend. I was talking to my old self. I was talking to somebody that like I was just having a conversation with somebody. I think that's really good. It feels like I have a really personal experience with someone reading it. But then when I finished all that, I knew I needed to market the book so people actually read it. So I did a marketing strategy. I learned this from David De Los Moranis. He wrote a book, I think it was like Write Book, Make Money or Easy Money or something. Just look up his stuff on Amazon. You'll find it. But David De Los Moranis. And his book basically said, put your book up for $1. Get your friends to buy it. Get whoever else you can, whoever follows your stuff to buy it. And if they liked it, leave a good review. And that'll get it into the algorithm, then put the price up to $10 after a month. That way you're already in the algorithm, then you start to make money off it. And I did that, it worked very, very well. And I was a little worried. I was like, should I do that? Because it feels a little like lame. I got like a couple, like my people in my family read it. I told them to be brutally honest and leave a brutally honest review, and they did, and they left a good review. But then I got a lot more people leaving reviews after, so to the point where there's a lot of reviews now. I don't know who the people are. There's like 20 reviews or more that people I don't know, which is great. That's what I want. And it's authentic reviews, and they all left 5-star reviews so far. So that's the big thing. You just need to get it in the algorithm, get it moving. And if you've marketed your book, your cover, and your title in a way that people see it and it gets their attention, and you use the right marketing strategy of putting it up for cheap, getting people to buy it, getting it in the algorithm for Amazon, for example, where I publish, and then you also write a book that provides a ton of value to people in a way that's digestible. You use stories, you make it not too personal, make it a little personal, and you teach people, you entertain, you do something, you need to provide value. If you do all that in a format that's digestible with all these other things, I think you'll do very well. If it's a topic that people care about, if it's a topic that you have something unique to say, or you have your own perspective to share that will be very beneficial to people, then you will make money. You will make money, and it's not about the money, it's about the value you provide, and then the money comes from that. That's the way to look at it, in my opinion. Like, I didn't write this book to get rich. I wrote this book because I felt like I had something to say, and it felt wrong not to say it, because it felt like really good information. I felt there was nothing out there that really filled this void. Like the second book I'm working on as well, my parents asked me, hey, you gonna write another book? And it was selling, it was doing okay. It was Amazon bestseller at one point, and it's still up there now. It's selling every month. And they're like, that's not a ton of money, because it's a niche topic as well, so it's not a ton of money. A bestseller in like caffeine is not making as much money as a bestseller in like finance, for example. But people are asking me, hey, you gonna write a second book? When's your next book come? The first one was great, it was very fun to read. And I didn't want to write a second book right away because I didn't have anything to say. Like, there was no burning desire to write a second book until like a year later. It was over a year later, or about a year. And I realized I want to write a book on finance based on the stuff I've been learning. And that's my next book. That's what I'm working on right now. It's about that. And once I finish this book, I won't write another book for a while. It's a lot of work. This book's crazy, but But yeah, that's the whole thing. When you have something to say, you have value to provide, and if you do it in an engaging way and market it correctly, which is very important, you will do well. Don't overthink it. It might sound like a lot of information. You can watch this video again if you want. You can check out my book. You can read it if you want to see how I did it. I'm a little vulgar in the book, but it's authentic to me. So yeah, if you do all those things, it sounds like a lot, but literally just go and do it. Like, you can literally just do things. There's a guy wrote a book on, I was going to read his book. I follow him on Twitter. It's J something. I don't know. The book's called You Can Just Do Things. But you literally can. Like, there's no one stopping you. Like, you don't need a degree to write a book. You don't need a PhD. It's cool if you have one as well, but you can just go ahead and do things. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't really matter. Like, it's still cool to look back and be like, tell your grandkids, like, hey, I wrote a book. Like, 2 people bought it, but like, hey, I still wrote a book, and that's awesome. And you learn a lot from it. And maybe that sparks a different idea for a second book. Like, at the very least, if you feel like you want to do it and you're unsure, just dip your toes in the water and try it anyways. It's going to be a little challenging. It's going to be a few months of work. It's going to be, some days you're going to be like, why am I? You're going to feel like you're in book hell. But overall, it's a really good experience, and I'm glad I did it. So if you are debating it, highly recommend trying it out. And if you want any help, quick tips, drop a comment below. Want to read my book on the caffeine? Link in the description. Fantastic book. And best of luck. See you in the next one, boys.